Hey, what's going on, guys? Good morning. So, I'm talking today about food and mood. This is really hitting one close to home for me because I end up having some challenges around some just depressive kind of feelings sometimes and anxiety. I do, and I actually go to therapy for this. I've been there for a while, and it's incredibly helpful. But there is this side of nutrition that can be incredibly supportive as well. Now, I definitely wouldn't say that one without the other is something that I would really suggest. I think that if you are looking for some support, making sure that you do look at diet, and you work with someone that is a health professional like a registered dietitian, but then getting some help on that mental health side also. Reaching out for help is extremely important. So glad we're starting off with that kind of thing. But guys, check out some more information, not just here. Check out my website at foodisfuelnyc.com/blog for more information on this. And if you're seeing this on Instagram and you want to see the full video somewhere else, just head over to my YouTube. But we're talking about food and mood and the things that can really help with making sure that things like anxiety and depressive type of feelings are not so much of a problem. You can actually support yourself through nutrition. But what really anchored this idea was this really good study, and I'm going to check my notes on this, but it's a really great study out of the International Journal of Environmental Research and Public Health. It came out this past February, and it was something that was, the overall outcome is not something new. If you talk to a registered dietitian, you likely are going to hear them asking you to make sure you're eating more fruits and more vegetables. But what this study found after looking at just under 27,000 Canadians, it found that individuals that were eating less than 3 servings, just think of 3 different meals 3 times a day where you're not getting any kind of fruit or vegetable, but eating less than 3 servings of fruit or vegetable, non-starchy fruit or vegetable, that there were rates of anxiety disorder just a little bit higher, I think at a rate of about 24%. That's a pretty high number, and something that you can do just to take care of yourself is make sure that you're including some of those foods in there. And it's something that we definitely preach here at Food is Fuel NYC. Something when we talk about a prioritized lifestyle, we just want to make sure that whatever else you may be choosing, you're trying to make sure that you are including a higher fiber type of food, mainly from a fruit and vegetable, and sometimes those higher soluble fiber foods. If any of my clients are out there listening right now, they definitely know I talk about soluble fiber all the time. So making sure you have things just like your oranges, your apricots, your blackberries, your mango, broccoli, asparagus, Brussels sprout, carrots, right? Those things that can be really beneficial. Make sure you're getting something like it at least 3 times a day. Now, don't think that you can't do anything outside of what I just mentioned. Make sure that you're just getting some kind of colorful, non-starchy vegetable in there. Really great thing. Now, looking at this overall study, it's a longitudinal study, which means that it's not the strongest evidence in the world, and that's okay. But other things that it was looking at is that a BMI less than 18.5, so actually being underweight was actually associated with higher rates of anxiety and depression as well. But also a body fat percentage above 26%. So there are some things in there. And one more thing as well, it was looking at if there were individuals that were eating things like pastries or refined carbohydrates more than 2 times or 2 or more times a day, that was also shown to be increased. So there's many different variables here, not to mention just the predisposition with genetics. So there's many things that can be involved in this kind of thing, but what a really great study that kind of anchors this type of idea. Now, I wanted to make sure that, I'm trying to look beyond this and thinking, okay, well, what else? And this isn't a new topic. Food and mood is something that a lot of people have talked about, and you yourself may have heard about this before, or you yourself have noticed that when you eat certain foods, it makes you feel a certain way, right? Good or bad. And a lot of times in nutrition, what we can say is that if it hurts you, don't eat it. If it makes you feel like crap, if it makes you feel like shit, don't eat it, right? Or if it makes you feel good, then that can be really beneficial too. But you want to make sure that you're just keeping in mind how a food or whatever you do really affects you. But going off of this study, I wanted to think, okay, is this it? Is there anything else that we know that can really be affecting the way that we really feel? And there is. There's something, if you've heard about this before, it's a feel-good chemical. And it's not the only one, but there's something out there, it's called serotonin. And we find it in our brain. But we really find about 95% of the production of it coming within our gut, our stomach, and our intestine. And that really connects a lot of things around mood stabilization, some things around hunger, but really mainly mood. That's where we're going to look at it, it having the biggest impact. And is there any way for us to say, okay, can we increase serotonin? Or if we're not getting enough serotonin, how does that make us really change, or how does it make us feel? Well, lower rates of serotonin are linked to depression and anxiety. Okay, so what can we do from a nutrition standpoint? Well, what we can actually find is that there is an amino acid called tryptophan, right? Now, tryptophan is something you've heard about before. You've heard about eating Thanksgiving and eating turkey and including tryptophan, right? This amino acid that actually helps in the production of serotonin, this feel-good chemical. And looking at diets that are lower in tryptophan, they produce less serotonin in somebody's body, and that can lead then to these type of symptoms or these feelings of anxiety and depression that we're actually talking about right now. So if we increase foods that have tryptophan, that might be able to help. Now, what foods do? Now, mainly proteins do. So proteins, we have things like our poultry, we have fish, we have eggs, we have dairy, but we also have some plant-based sources as well that aren't going to be as high, but we need to really help our vegans and our vegetarians out, right? So we're going to have things like soy, we're going to have things like nuts and seeds, specifically. We can look at things like pumpkin seeds, squash seeds actually have that as well, but nuts and seeds have that as well. Flaxseed, chia seed, all those kind of things can definitely be beneficial. Things like white bean also. So there's definitely foods that you can get whether you are someone who is not a vegan or vegetarian, but if you are on that side, you have those kind of options to find foods that are higher in tryptophan that then can support an increased production of serotonin, that feel-good chemical. So please make sure you're focusing on that. Great evidence as well around a few other things. Just taking in things like omega-3. Omega-3, getting enough of it. Now there's many recommendations for how much omega-3 you can get. I'll start by telling you this. Eat fish at least 2 times a week. If you can't do that, then make sure that maybe you can take a supplement that has beneficial omega-3, specifically the EPA and DHA that's going to be found in the fish. It's not to say that other foods that have omega-3 coming from plant-based sources can't be as supportive. They're just not that. They're just not as supportive. So make sure you can focus on it whenever you really can. Also, foods like chocolate. The only thing with chocolate is that you want to make sure it's darker. Above 70% cacao is going to be the most beneficial in this area. There's also some really good research around caffeine, but only to a certain amount. Everyone is kind of a different they metabolize caffeine at different rates, so high amounts of caffeine intake can actually be associated with things like anxiety. But even that little bit throughout the day is actually found to be somewhat supportive of this, but you just have to be a little bit careful. Lastly, what I say is that eating foods that you really want to be enjoying around people that you love, around people that care about you, doing things that you love, but then even sleeping appropriately, exercising, drinking water and staying hydrated. There's many things outside of just the food itself that you really want to make sure that you are focusing on, right? Prioritize the things that you need to do, or you should do, the things that your body's going to benefit from, and then bring in the other things that are going to make you happier, things that you aren't going to be as beneficial either. So there's so many great things that you can kind of do to affect your mood with food. So check it out. But if you have any questions, pop them below. If you're looking at this on YouTube, please like, share, comment. If you're looking at this on Instagram, please comment below. Is there a food that you feel most happy with? Have you found foods that maybe don't work so well with you or not? But look, we're all here to be supportive. If you are looking for some help with food, reach out to a registered dietitian that can help you. At the same time, make sure that you are taking care of your mental health. Reach out to a mental health professional as well, whether it be a social worker or a psychiatrist, but just make sure you're taking care of you, right? Put your self-care first, guys. Anyway, stay safe, stay healthy. You got this, all right? Take care.